Hindley and Brady's crimes shocked a generation when their spree became public knowledge in the mid-60s, with both eventually handed whole life orders. The pair's sentences meant neither would ever be released from prison, such was the monstrous nature of their 5 killings. Each death was of a child, some of whom were also abused, and ensured Hindley and Brady's disturbing legacy on these shores was forever enshrined into the British consciousness. Interest in their abhorrent acts has remained since their spree was unearthed, and in recent months Channel 4 has made their crimes the centerpiece of a new documentary that discusses the 2 deformed murderers. Chief amongst its intrigue is a series of newly found letters Brady sent to someone on the outside while he was serving his time inside. And in one, Brady admitted how Hindley was his downfall and that had the pair not met, their wicked crimes may not have been committed. The couple met in 1961, Hindley joining the firm Millwards as a typist, where Brady was already employed. In a note, Brady shared his first thoughts on Hindley when they met in Millward's Manchester offices. It said, "If I hadn't obtained an office job, I wouldn't have eventually had Myra Hindley as my typist. If I had not met Myra Hindley, I wouldn't have been diverted from my mercenary aims and onto the path of my downfall. So you're forced to take a simple measure to avoid danger and it leads you onto a greater one." The couple lived near to Manchester, alongside their dog Puppet, before they were arrested following their 5th and final murder. David Smith, Hindley's brother-in-law, reportedly tipped the police off about the murders, which eventually led to their web of offending unraveling. Discussing Brady in the documentary, Carrie Danes, a forensic psychologist, spoke about the significance of the letters Brady penned while inside had. She said, "I do feel there is a bizarre quality to these letters, and I think the bizarre quality is the product of his personality. His personality was extreme. He was grandiose, he was narcissistic. He was paranoid at the best of times. He felt that others did their best to irritate him, upset him and conspire against him. And he was someone who was incredibly anti-authority. So that anger he has, that bitterness he has towards other people and the contempt he has for other people really comes through in the letters." Hindley continued to maintain that Brady was central to the murders, and that she was only a supporting cast member in the sick episode of killing that played out in Lancashire. In one note to then Home Secretary Merlin Rees, Hindley wrote, "Between 1978 and 1979, within months he, Brady, had convinced me that there was no God at all. He could have told me that the earth was flat, the moon was made of green cheese and the sun rose in the west, I would have believed him, such was his power of persuasion." Years later, in the 90s, Hindley also claimed that her role in the murders only came about as a result of Brady drugging her, and blackmailing her with pornographic pictures that had been taken of her. Andrew McCooey, Hindley's solicitor, said in 2008 that his client once said that she ought to have been hanged, and that she deserved it. She added, "My crime was worse than Brady's because I enticed the children and they would never have entered the car without my role." I have always regarded myself as worse than Brady.